Hello there, carpologists. I'm Joe, and today you join me on the banks of Acorn Fishery, which is Clevedon, Bristol sort of way, which is lovely for me because I'm West Country. It only took me about 45 minutes to get here, which is bliss. And I've actually been here a couple of times before. I've been involved in a couple of charity matches between Bristol City and Bristol Rovers. I'm a Bristol City fan for those who didn't know. And unfortunately we lost the two events I came to, but I saw a lovely load of fish come out. And I'm hopeful to get my hands on some of these fish on my third time lucky, because I blanked the first two times. But the stock wise is pretty decent, to be honest. It's got 400 fish in here in 3.5 acres, and they go up to £34. Start from about £15, and there's about 1 in 4 of fish are 20, so really good stock. And for those of you that live in the West Country or looking to find somewhere to fish down this way, you'll realise that we aren't exactly spoilt for choice on venue. So when you come across a venue like this with the facilities it has and the stock it has, it really is quite special. So fingers crossed we get something. I'll talk to you a bit more about all the facilities and all sorts later on, but for now I'm going to find some spots, get the rods out and see if I can get a fish. So the rods are now out, and the first thing was to find spots. Now I knew from previous sessions here, when seeing other people catch, tight to the island always did well, but I wanted to find out exactly what I was fishing over and sort of the depths everywhere. So I flung it around a few places. The island goes down to about 4.5 to 5 foot for about 6 foot off the bank, and then drops down to about 6 foot, about 6 foot out, or a rod length out. So I'm not quite tight to the island. I've come back to where it starts to drop off to about 6 foot, and I've baited that with just MB1 Plus. The left one down in the margin, it's actually quite deep there. It's about 6 foot and proper polished off just in the left margin. So I feel like that's a place they've been visiting, because around the area was little bits of silt and all sorts, but where I've put the rod, it was just dead flat and completely clear. And on the right one, it's just gone out in mid-water because I've got two to features, so the other one I wanted to put somewhere a little bit different and not cut the swim off completely. And that's actually 7.1 feet, so it's the deepest spot on that right rod. So I've got one just mid-water to the right that's not cutting off the swim. The only one that is going straight across the swim is the one to the point of the island, and the left one is just down the margin. So ideally fish can come round, move round. If they're coming around the bay, they'll reach a bait there. If they come around the island, they'll meet a bait there. But if they come from this direction, there's nothing really cutting off the swim bar my rod that's right in the middle of the water. Now baiting approach has gone a little bit different as well. I've come with 2 different baits, and I started sorting out the baits a couple of days ago. So the Atlantic crab I scalded with boiling hot water for a few minutes, poured that out, then covered them in the matching oil, so it just starts to soak all that in. They've become really soft and really oily and quite stinky. MB1 Plus, I've just put some glug on the boilies as they were in the bag and sealed it back up. And so I'm fishing one bait on the left rod, one bait on the middle rod, and then mixing the two on the mid-water rod just to see what happens. All the rigs are the same. I've got the like a bottom bait sort of setup with wafters on, although the mixed bait is kind of like a snowman setup, so I've got a mix of the 2 baits on there. Helicopter setup, same sort of thing I use everywhere I go, and just going to see what pays off. So a bit about the facilities, starting off with the swims themselves. Most of them, if not all of them, are concrete like this one. You've got steps down to on this far bank, which is the bank nearest to the M5, but most of the others I think are all level from the ground level, so there's no stepping down steps. So accessibility is really easy, and I think all of them, bar maybe 1 or 2 swims, have a hut as well. So there's no need to bring a shelter. You chuck all your stuff in there, it keeps you nice and dry and warm, especially coming into the winter months, and there's no need to pack down a wet bivvy at the end of a session. So that's really nice as well. You can get around the whole lake really easily and drive your car all the way around, park up your car behind the swim to unload. You can't leave your car here, but there's a very big car park. You just put your car back there once you've unloaded, which makes it a lot easier. No need to barrow stuff around. It's nice and accessible. On the other bank, you've also got 2 lots of toilets and shower blocks. You've got one sort of that corner and one at the main centre, which has a fully kitted out tackle shop as well. It's not open on Wednesdays, but when it opens tomorrow I'll show you around there. But yeah, it just gets you out of trouble more than anything, and if you've forgotten some stuff or need to stock up while you're here, there's a tackle shop to get stuff. And there's also food, I believe, so certain times of day you can ring up and order yourself bacon butties or burgers, something like that, so you can get food. And just down the road as well, about 5 minutes from me, I think it's 2 miles, there's a co-op, so really nice and close to a supermarket. But just be aware, the gates shut at 6 or 6:30, I believe, in the winter months, and probably a bit later in the summer months. And there's also takeaways in that town, so food-wise, you're kitted out, tackle-wise, you're kitted out, accessibility, you're kitted out, accommodation, you're sorted. So it really is covering all bases. A really nice place to be. Just need those fish to turn up. Quite confident that as the light levels start to drop in a bit and throughout the night, that's going to be my best chance. Quite confident that as the light levels start to drop in a bit and throughout the night, that's going to be my best chance. The middle rod, which went out to the island, some fish were showing really tight to the reeds. So instead of being a bit off where it shelves off slightly, I've now gone really tight to the reeds. And the left rod, I've just moved slightly further around into the bay where a fish rolled twice. So right one staying where it is, but that's pretty much it now. Wait for the night to come in. I feel like that's going to be my best chance of a bite. How's that for a beautiful October sunrise? Got down pretty cold last night, as I expected. I think we're down to about 5-6 degrees, and today's meant to be getting up to about 15 higher, so 3 times the night temperature. So it really is fluctuating quite a lot night to day, and a very uneventful night. All I've got to relay back is a single liner on the middle rod, so it really was quiet. Fish were rolling down here, I could hear them crashing even in that bay, so I think the fish were around me. I'm not really sure why I didn't pick up a bite. I was really confident last night, but it just didn't happen. I'm going to leave it probably another hour or so, because I think it's could be a morning bite time potentially. But if nothing happens, I'm going to just keep watching the water, recast the rods. I know that the middle one, which is to the island, is a good spot, because fish were showing there yesterday. They showed before I even got rods out. The right rod of fish did show there before I put it there as well, in that deeper spot, but nothing is happening. I was talking to Mark yesterday, and he told me there's a spot just off the sort of where the bridge meets that side of the bank. There's and some boards end. There's a good spot there, which he knows is flat because he's flattened it with the digger when it was last drained. So that's probably a spot I'm going to try today. It makes sense to use the local knowledge, or the lake owner's knowledge, and just to maximise my chances of getting a fish before I head home about this time tomorrow morning. So see what the day brings, and hopefully the second part of the session is a bit more productive.
Well, I've just popped down to see Joe. Unfortunately, he hasn't caught anything yet, but there's nothing to say that he will, or he might not. Never know. Depends how good Joe is, really. But yeah, no. So the fishery, as far as the fishery is concerned, we bought the land in 2000, and me and my father dug it along with a family. It's like it's a family-run fishery, and over the years, the sort of fishing's changed here and there. Like when they've bred, sort of we've ended up with a lot of fish in the lake. Before, and the fish struggled to put the weight on. So like earlier in the year, just before the spring, we drained down. We had a bit of a revamp. We've completely desilted all the whole lake all the way around. So like now all the original bars and features that we put in when we dug the fishery, they're all exposed again now. And yeah, it's made it really interesting. Obviously we've taken out a lot of small fish. There's now 386 carp in here. I have got a couple more, a few big girls coming next month. But yeah, there's 386 carp, and around it's about 105, I think, we counted, that were over 20 pound out of the 386. So that's a good, good head of fish. So like one in 4 fish is a 20 pounder. There are currently, there's probably 4 that are maybe over 30 pound at the moment. And like I say, I've got a few big ones coming next month. I won't tell you just what they are. I'll let you see them. So when they're here and going in the lake, I'll count them as in. But yeah, so tactic wise, there's a bit of everything. We've got 3 islands. Around one of the islands there's like a little shelf that's about 3 foot deep. That's really good. Like we've done that. That's like a man-made island. When we desilted, the fish had actually eroded the original island away, so we had to build like a man-made island. I've put like a 3 foot shelf all the way around, and it's absolutely perfect now. You know, you can get some good bites off of there. The main island, there's a shallower shelf, probably around 18 inches deep, and when the weather's warm and the sun's out, this is absolutely bang on. You can chuck onto the island, walk round, drop it in, handful of bait, and normally it doesn't take that long to get a bite. There's plenty of areas where there's a little bit of cover. There's a little island up in the top corner. Like I said, that's got a little shelf around it, but there's not much cover there, so you get the odd fish off it, but in that corner the margins are a bit deeper and they tend to produce a bit more. That goes to say, like, with the margins all the way around the fishery, they're actually deeper than the island margins, because over the years where we've had like the reed invasion and we've taken them out with the machines and stuff, it's made like a real nice sanctuary. And because it's a like a heavy pressure day ticket, it does give the fish like a little bit of sort of, you know, a little bit of space just to back off the angling pressure, and they can have a little rest, and you know, they can sort of sulk away in the edges a bit. And not many people fish them. They seem to get suckered in by the islands, but a few lads fish them and they get really, you know, they do get rewards from fishing out the margins. They seem to catch a lot of the bigger fish as well, so whether there's something in that the bigger fish know where just to sort of back off to when they know the pressure's on, I don't know. But like, as for bait wise, like, we run like beforehand it was just whatever, you could use whatever bait you wanted other than nuts. But what we've done now is, as an angler, the only thing that you need to bring with you for free offerings are your boilies. You can get your maize or your pellets from the shop. You can fish whatever you want on the hook, whatever you want in a PVA bag. So if you want to use maggots on the hook, maggots in a bag, that's absolutely fine. We're not trying to dictate to anybody how you fish, you know, because everybody's got their little touches, their little special glug pop-ups or whatever they want to use on the hook. All we're trying to do is sort of adhere the rules to promote the fish growth, because ultimately the bigger the bigger we can get the fish, it's better for you, the anglers. You know, everyone loves to catch a big fish. Nice simple rules really, other than barbless hooks and no knots above your tubing. So yeah, that's it pretty much. But other than that, booking on's pretty easy. You can either go through the Facebook page or you can call up and book in through the office. And yeah, other than that, it fishes pretty well through the winter, pretty well through the summer. So there's always a few bites to be had. Like the swims around the lake, there's always somewhere for the conditions that you'll be able to get a bite. You know, if it's baking hot and the fish they love a floater. So if it's baking hot, you can catch them off the top. You catch them out the shallow margins on the islands. If it's a bit cooler, you can come off in the open water. The depths now go up to around probably 9 feet, I'd say, in certain areas. But there are a couple of bars on each bank in open water, which are probably about 5 foot deep, but they're shallower than the water around it, and it makes a real nice sort of like tabletop presentation where you can actually fish your baits. So yeah, so it's entirely up to you and how you want to fish it. It really is up to you.
Well, I've given it a couple of hours this morning. I brought in the right hand rod and was casting around to bubblers because it was bubbling up quite a bit to the right and not quite on the spot that I started fishing yesterday, a bit further down. Although having said that, right behind the camera where I was fishing, it's bubbling right now. But I brought the rods in, I've clipped them back up, so middle rod back out to the island, left rod it's now going on a new spot which Mark said is a good, nice, clean spot, and the right one I think I'm just going to keep as casting around to bubblers and trying to pick up a fish that way. So that's all sorted. I've also put out quite a bit of bait now, going quite heavily now towards the Atlantic crab. I've put probably about a kilo spread along the reed line on the island, and probably half a kilo on the left spot, and like I said, the right one, no bait anywhere else because that's just going to be cast around. So I'm going to go over and make use of the facilities and also show you the tackle shop while I'm at it. So give the swim a little bit of a break, get them back out, and see if we can nick a bite in the last 24 hours. Oh, that's better. And I just had a little walk around the tackle shop, as you saw, nicely kitted out, and just talking to the bloke in there who's saying that they respond quite well to a wind. So hopefully this is going to bode well for me, because it's now pushing straight into this bay, pushing them up this end. Some people have just moved into swim 3, which is the complete other end of the lake, where I've been seeing some fish move and roll. So hopefully a bit of commotion over there will get the fish moving around. This wind's going to bring them in. So fresh baits, put them out on the spots, and I'm feeling a lot more confident today. Here we have all 3 back out fishing for me. Well, today is just absolutely flying by. I've been watching the water as much as possible, and the fish really aren't showing themselves. And I've had one show actually all afternoon, and that was in the left margin. So the rod that I moved from there and put out over that side earlier has now gone back into that bay. So now I've got left-hand bay straight across to that end of the bridge across the island, and then the right rod is over to the island by the rushes again still. So baited up, rigs are out. I just recast them actually, so fresh bait rigs went out, fresh bait, and just got to see what the night can bring now. The wind's still pushing in nicely, so it all looks spot on for a bite, but this place yet again is just kicking me in the nuts for some reason. So we'll see how the final night brings. But if you are interested in this place, then prices do vary, of course, of how long you're here for, but typically it's £10 per day per person, whether you're in a hut or on a bivvied swim. But if you go 24 hours, it's then £20 for a bivvied swim and £25 for a hut swim. I won't go through all the prices because it changes as you go up longer sessions. And if you wanted to have a guest with you for the night, to say you brought your missus or something, it'd be £5 for her for the night as well. So all of that is pre-booking as well. You can do day sessions here, you can rock up, but you've got to go to the office first, obviously check availability so you're not encroaching on anyone's pre-bookings. And rules, pretty simple really. It's not an extensive list that takes you ages to read. The main one being barbless hooks, no lead core, and pretty much everything else is self-explanatory. All the rules are on the website. They're pinned up in the shed as well. So there's absolutely no reason for you to break any rules, but there really isn't that many. So it's not a really strict venue. Very laid back feeling on the whole, to be honest. And although it's next to the M5, completely forget about it once you're here. It just becomes background noise, and it's just as peaceful as anywhere else really. What I do want though is one of those alarms to rip through the silence at some point this evening and save my session and make it a bit more interesting for you guys, of course. Well, not really much of a sunset today. The cloud came over about 5 o'clock-ish, and we had rain for coming up about an hour long. Came down pretty heavily at times as well, and a little bit of hail at one point I did spot. So weather conditions have been pretty good today, to be honest, considering it's meant to be a lot rougher than it was. The wind has died off a bit now, but the temperature is certainly plummeting already. We were up to mid-teens today, and it's dropping down to about 7 degrees again tonight. So already feeling a bit of a chill. And if it's going to happen, it needs to happen tonight, because I'm off early tomorrow morning. There's an angler's just gone, so it now means that the person that was to my right, which was probably about 4 or 5 swims round, has now gone, and the next person is completely opposite. So if the fish move from that way round, there's nothing obstructing on low lines in the water until it reaches my first rod on the island. So I'm feeling a bit more confident today that if the fish move round, that I will pick one off that way. There's some on the other side of the bridge and someone completely opposite, so we're kind of covering this half of the lake. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen tonight. Bait wise, I'm still confident with the rigs. I know work. This is the sort of session where you start second guessing yourself, going through your mind, what can I change? That sounded like a fish. What can I change? What can I do to make a difference? When, to be honest, I know that the rigs and baits and things that I'm using work, because it's caught in loads of different venues I've fished. So I need to stop getting that into my head and just thinking it's just not meant to be if I don't catch. But bring on the night. I'm feeling quite confident. A cup of tea to kickstart the day. Got an hour left, and as you can tell, because I would have shown you by now some fish, I didn't get any fish. So a solid night's sleep, much better than the first night's sleep. A couple of touches here and there, fish rolling in front of me, fish right down in the bay as well, so I know they were about, but just didn't happen once again. Really quite confusing, because I'm sure I fished the best I could in this swim, and if I came back again or did this session from start again, know what I know now, I don't think I'd change anything. I'm pretty confident in all the tactics I was doing. It just hasn't paid off, so I will be back at some point in the future, because I've certainly got a score to settle here. I hate leaving places without catching fish, and this is now the third time for me, so isn't the best record for me on here, but there's certainly the fish to go for in here. I've seen them with my own eyes on previous sessions. I've seen a couple of fish come out on this session, so it's definitely going to be somewhere, I think, when it starts to get a bit warmer next year. I'll probably bring the missus along. She's getting a bit interested now in joining me coming fishing, and because you've got these huts here, it's perfect, nice and roomy, and if it's pouring down with rain, she's not going to get all upset, it's all miserable. So certainly is a good place to bring someone along, or have a couple of mates. There's a couple of people fishing on the other bank, sharing a hut together. So it's a great social place as well. But that is pretty much it for me. I've got an hour till the rods come in, so there's every chance of a last minute bite, but I'm not feeling too confident anymore. So slow pack away and then head back home. But if you enjoyed this episode, then please like the video, and also if you've got suggestions of where you want myself and Luke, whether it be individually or both of us going to a place, then please let us know in the comments below, because we're enjoying this series. This is probably the 4th or 5th we've filmed, so by the time this one goes up, there'll be several already up, so go back and watch those. And if you're enjoying it, yeah, just let us know in other places you want us to go. I think next one needs to be a runs water for me, but we'll see. But cheers for watching, and I'll see you again soon.